Hi, I just wanted to do a video on radio control and some of the problems that I've had and what I'm thinking of doing to fixing it. First of all, I bought a few of these things. They're from Hobby King. They're good radios, they work well, but they've got a few problems. Problem number one, if you use these little orange receivers, I've found, and this is only my opinion of course, but I've found that they've got a nasty habit of browning out. Which means when these little things start moving around all at one time, if the voltage drops in this thing, then it browns out, which means it loses connection between the transmitter and the receiver, and the plane usually plummets to earth in a downward motion extremely quickly, ending up with a big bag full of balsa wood. So I don't like those. Secondly, I bought a heap of these. The Fly Sky module that's in this one and the Fly Sky receivers, they're very good. I haven't had any problems with brownouts on them. They do bind a little differently to other receivers, but they're fine. You get used to them. They're easy to use. The radio has got I think this one's got it's the Pro version, a 20 model memory on it. The problem that I've got is not with the radio, it's with me. I go to the flying field with 4 different aircraft. I fly one, I get talking to the guys on the flying field, and then I forget to change from one model to another, put another model up, and of course the controls are all different, ending with another bag of balsa wood. So I do try to remember which model I was flying last, but it's a confusion that I don't really like. It's not what I was used to. I'm an older person, obviously. I was brought up in the 70s and 80s flying model aeroplanes, and it used to be the way that normally one transmitter, one receiver, one aeroplane. So if you wanted to fly multiple aeroplanes on one day, you'd probably have multiple transmitters and receivers. Maybe it's my memory, but it makes it easier for me that way. I didn't want to buy a heap of these. The other thing about them I don't like is they feel like plastic. It just feels like a lump of plastic. It's not a professional feel. I don't know. It's just not to my liking. I don't like it. But there you go. That's my own personal choice. You may love them. If you love them, that's fine. Go ahead and buy as many as you like, or just one if you can buy the receivers. But yeah, like me, remember which model you flew last and which one you want to fly next. Now, what I've got and had for some time that my brother gave me is one of these. This is a Field Force 7 Super radio from from Futaba. They tend to work very well. It was a high-end radio. It feels like it should feel. It's a professional type radio, at least that's how it feels to me. It doesn't have the model memories. It's just one single model, but you do have the ability to change the performance of the model in the computer. So it's a sort of a low-end computer in a high-end radio. Of course, in its day, it was high-end. So what I want to do is, without having this great big dorky aerial and this huge aerial on the receiver, I wanted to change it to 2.4 gigahertz. I know some other people have done this online, but I just wanted to show my experience, just to check that it's as easy as everybody says. So I'm going to give it a crack. First of all, you'll turn the transmitter on, showing 10.6 volts, which is fine. Turn the receiver on. Obviously, I make up my own flight packs with the laptop batteries. I find out that these work far better than any others. The old NICADs and nickel metal hydride batteries are not very good for what we use them for nowadays. But just to show that this radio is fully functional, all the functions work. I've only got a 4-channel receiver connected to it at the moment, but yeah, it just shows that the whole thing does work. So we'll switch that off and this off. Now as I turn it over, you'll see that it's got a module. Obviously this is Australia, so we're flying on 36 megahertz. Well, we want to do away with that and go to the 2.4 gigahertz. So what I bought from the good old land of eBay was an FR Sky module and receiver all in one. It's got some comprehensive instructions that I might read one day. I've seen enough videos on the YouTube to know that basically how to do the whole jobby. Probably the only thing I would refer to the manual for is the binding process, but that'll come later. So first of all, the radio's turned off, I know. Remove the module. Yeah, 36 megs. And I'm just going to check that they are identical fittings. And they look to be exactly the same. So yeah, let's try and pop that in there. This was designed for a Futaba, as they say. So we'll just give it a go and see how well it fits. And it's a little bit tricky. There we go. I think that should do it. Yeah, not all at once. There we go, she's in. A little bit tricky, but not much of a problem. The thing I like about the Futaba one is that you can pop the aerial on the module, and it should fit between the handle, but it doesn't. So I'll pop it on the outside. Well, there's my first problem. I find that I may have to put the aerial on before I put the module in. So we'll do that. Pop the aerial on, pretty easy. There are kits from Corona and so forth where you can actually do this all internally, but if it's got a module, why not use it? There we go, that's in. So there's the 2.4 gig module placed inside the module port at the back, and we'll toss that one somewhere in the bin. Not really, I'm going to use it again for something else, but yeah. The receiver that comes with it is obviously a dedicated receiver for this thing. It's a 6-channel receiver, an 8-channel receiver. And it should be a direct swap out for this little jobby here. We'll pop out these little servo plugs and the power plug and toss that over there. Now if you do read the instructions, it says you're supposed to turn the radio to PPM. Already done that, so that's okay. So we'll plug the servos in. One. Servo 2. Three. And 4. On the side there you'll notice that it says the positive, ground and signal. It tells you which way up the plug should be, so that's quite self-explanatory. And then the power obviously will go into either one. So we'll pop the power into that one. Pop the power into number 8, remembering that the positive is the middle and the black is the ground at the bottom there. So then we're ready to roll. So now what we need to do is we need to bind the whole thing. This is where I may need to refer to the manual. Well, after further viewing of the instructions, I have discovered there are 2 little buttons here, marked switch 1 and switch 2. Apparently for the receivers we have, switch 1 has to be in the off position and the switch 2 has to be in the on position. So we'll give it a retry and see if it will bind now. Okay, it appears we now have a bind. I suppose that's why they invented instructions. Never mind. So we'll turn it all off and switch it back on, and then we should have full control, hopefully. So we pop the radio back on, and then there we go. Yep, so we've got all functions available. So we now have a high-end radio, old, with 2.4 gigahertz. I much prefer it to have one transmitter per model, so I know what I'm flying. We used to number the transmitters and the models so we knew what to pick up when we were leaving the shed. Hopefully this video has been helpful for you. I do have another couple of projects on the way. I've got some extremely old Futaba radios coming from the United States that I intend to change to 2.4 gigahertz to match some of the vintage models that I fly. Okay, thanks again, and we'll catch up next time.